I'm back. Rodrance for our Black and White Network. We're going to talk about EVs again, electric vehicles. Of course, the Biden administration, they are pushing it. They want you to fully embrace the ideology that's going to save the climate. Oh, come on. Anyway, so we've done a lot of videos, or we try to do some videos involving the EVs, and some of the more some of the things that you don't really hear in the mainstream public, mainstream stories. And this is something I don't think that gets covered enough, okay? And that's the raw actual materials that are used to create these EV products, okay? And sort of what's going on in some of the countries that this is done in, involving slave labor. That's right. Kind of the same premise as the NBA and Nike support China, even though the Uyghurs are getting treated absolutely dastardly and horrifically, the human rights abuses that are going on. Well, that kind of thing is going on with these electric vehicle materials, okay? Not talking about that enough. Look, the Democrats are brave, stunning, and courageous and wants to be all cuddly and cuckoo for everybody and them being happy. And, oh my God, we care about you, except if you're in another country, then crack the whip on their sorry asses. Right? And, you know, it's been my theory. Look, if this was going to eventually transition, okay, eventually, and to me, something like this ought to take 300 years to do, okay? 200 years. It should be well over time. Slowly, baby steps. Make sure you build your infrastructure. Make sure you've got resources. Make sure the people working in the oil and gas industry don't end up without jobs. Make sure they are trained into transition into doing something like this. But I also don't feel like any of that should ever go away, if you want to know the truth. I think it's a lot of much to do about nothing, but, you know, you're not supposed to say that. We're not much on keeping our mouths shut on this channel. Anyway, enter Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't listen to it all the time, but I listen to especially things if he's talking Elon, if he's talking fitness, if he's talking COVID, or if he's talking about something like this where he has on somebody that's going to speak about things like electric cars and some of the things going on involving electric cars. I like interesting, and Joe can have some extremely interesting guests on, right? Don't agree with everything Joe's got to say politically, but that doesn't mean I can't consume his podcast. I'm not going to be put in a box. So this is the Daily Wire. Joe Rogan's podcast shows horrifying slave conditions used to mine materials needed for electric cars. Podcast giant Joe Rogan used his show this week to shine a light on some of the horrifying slave conditions that are used to mine raw materials used to make electric car batteries and batteries for other devices like cell phone and laptops. Rogan brought on activist Siddharth Kara to explain what happens with these mines in Africa, specifically in the Congo. Biden somewhere going, oh no, don't read this. Don't read this out loud. You're not supposed to. Or maybe he's thinking it. I don't know if he could get enough coherent sentences out to actually convey that. Quote, throughout the whole history of slavery, I mean, going back centuries, never in human history has there been more suffering that generated more profit and was linked to the lives of more people around the world ever in history than what's happening in the Congo right now, Kara said. And the reason I say this is the cobalt that's being mined in the Congo is in every single lithium-ion rechargeable battery manufactured in the world today, every smartphone, every tablet, every laptop, and crucially, every electric vehicle. Jesus. Look, this is something even I've got to think about because I've got a lot of solar, all right? I'm not on solar, but I've got 3 different EcoFlow, what they call power generators. One of them's huge, and they all got lithium batteries in them. And I've got 3.2 kilowatts worth of solar panels. Now that's all my backup. All that stuff's out at my land. And I've purchased this place, and I completely recalibrated what I was doing from the standpoint of where I'm going to end up leaving my home base. It's going to be here. So I'm bringing all my solar, and I'm going to be putting it up over here, and it will run in conjunction to offset. I'll probably run my office off of it, things like that. The only thing that you really have trouble running off solar is your heating and cooling. Okay, that's something that takes a lot of resource even out of solar. But look, that's something I've got to think about, is the fact that what's happening if I spend money on lithium batteries for solar, same kind of deal. Jesus, I'm kind of pot calling the kettle black on this thing. Cara noted that mining conditions in the country are so bad that people are forced at gunpoint to dig for these materials by hand. Jesus. Cobalt really took off about 10 to 12 years ago, he said, and it's in another part of the country in the mining provinces in the southeast of the Congo. And cobalt took off because it started to be used in lithium-ion batteries to maximize their charge and stability. And just so happens that Congo, just as it was setting more than half of the world's reserves of coltan, and of course a lot of gold, diamonds, and other things, is sitting on more cobalt than the rest of the planet combined. And it's in a little patch of Congo, southeastern corner, a part that is used to be called Kentanga. And before anybody knew what was happening, the Chinese government, Chinese mining companies, took control of most of all these big mines, and local population has been displaced, is under duress, and they dig in absolutely subhuman, gut-wrenching conditions for $1 a day, feeding cobalt up to supply chains for all phones, tablets, and especially electric cars. So, look, we've seen these news conferences, these press conferences. Biden gets up there, they roll his corpse up there, and he starts talking, kind of. And he talks about everybody getting along and human rights, and everybody's got to have the right to do this and should be treated with respect, and let all the sons of bitches come across the border. Oh, we got to welcome them in. Love, 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 right? The party of love. Oh, we're loving everybody, just spreading all kinds of stuff. So anyway, they're on that tip. They're on that ball game, right? But, China's involved. China's committing all these human rights atrocities in doing things like this, mining this cobalt that's going to drive the batteries and things like that for electric cars, for EVs, to push Biden's agenda. But we're not going to talk about China. We're not going to call China out. And we're going to cover our eyes, act like it's not happening. Hypocrisy, right? NBA does this with China all the time. All right? So while you're pushing this agenda to try to better the planet, poor sons of bitches in Congo right now have got guns pointed at them and telling them, dig by hand, bitch, for $1 a day. Are we going to act like that's not a human rights violation? Or are we just nothing to see here? Please move along. Unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy. The Democrats, these socialist Marxist bastards, they're the party of hypocrisy. I mean, truly. It's just, everything's good here. If we can get it out of the United States, then it doesn't really happen. It's the same thing as you cut off our oil and gas. You don't want us to be energy independent. Oh my God, because of what it could do to the United States. But you're going to go somewhere else and pay out to have it shipped in? I mean, how do you think it's garnered in other places, you dumb shits? I mean, they know this, okay? It's ridiculous. It's all a big game. And they hope that people that vote for them are dumb enough to fall for it. And there's a lot of dumb sons of bitches out there, we're finding out. Wow, I saw this. I wanted to point this out. John did the video the other day talking about the guy that owns a Tesla that had to cancel his Christmas because he couldn't go anywhere because he couldn't charge his Tesla due to the freezing ass temperatures. And that's the other thing. I was talking about these lithium batteries that are in my solar generators. Those can't be subjected, okay, to extreme colds, or it'll kill them batteries. Those batteries won't charge up to full potential. So all those things always have to be in a more climate-controlled environment, above 32 degrees and below a certain degree of high temperature. Now, generally speaking, I wouldn't want them in 100-degree, really even 90-degree storage or something like that. So, look, there's a lot of... I've got it because I wanted to offset my utility bill cost, right? I don't give a rat's about the whole climate aspect of it. I can run my office off of it and not miss a beat. Plus, if we lose electric, which we do here in the country, then I can keep producing content, run my Wi-Fi, whatever, right? And save money from that aspect. Eventually, I will run this whole place off solar. But I'm also not out there pushing an agenda and this and that and the other. And we're an area that's very much reliant on gas, oil, etc. This entire area. I mean, my family is from, the oil capital of the United States, Kilgore, right? That's where my dad was living when he passed at 91 years old. So this is just wild. This is not called out enough. I'm glad Joe Rogan covered it, so in turn it brought more attention to it, and then I can cover it myself. Nuts. Just nuts. Tell me what you think. Black and White Network supporters, this is a longer video. It almost had a little podcast feel to it because I was able to babble about some other things, but you get the point, right? They're out there and they're promoting so much involving what's supposed to be human rights and caring and make sure everybody's treated with the utmost respect. As long as them sons of bitches are not, but as long as them sons of bitches are not in this country, we don't really care what happens to them. And we're surely not going to call out China. We're surely not. I mean, hey, we paid you and Hunter handsomely. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network supporters. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.